Alrighty guys, welcome back. Thanks for coming. Today we're going to do a little something different. This is going to be part of a new series we're doing on Return to Your Nature here. I'll probably come up with some sort of name for it. I'm thinking something like the tune-in or the tune-up. It'll just be a short little segment. I'll do it probably maybe once a week, or maybe I'll never do another one again. Who knows? But the idea is, just to give you guys a short video that will help you just quickly reorient yourself, get back on track, quiet the noise, and allow you to return to seeing things as you're meant to see them. Because this is a beautiful world, and if you're not seeing that, then something's definitely wrong. I'll give a quick story, quick one. So, we really can, those who are tuned into it can really read the energies of the people around us. And I am a huge fan of Barnes & Noble. Hope many of you are. I go there almost every day. I know all the baristas. I know a lot of the booksellers. I like to write as part of my sort of practice, so I'll take my journal there and find some place to sit in the cafe, and I'll spend hours there. And since I've been doing that this year, probably a full year now, I'd say I've been doing that. Not every single day, but every few days. I have noticed other people who I call the characters of the cafe, because there's others who come almost every day, and we see each other. We don't really interact, funny enough. Most people seem to be there for us, to complete some type of task, and for me, it's the same. I come to write. So, one of the days I was there, this was probably 4 or 5 months ago at this point, I noticed a woman walking in. And just immediately, I just drew the conclusion, oh, okay, she's got some darkness in her, for sure. She has some negativity she's working through. And I noticed she was very rude to the barista, and she bought a couple cookies from the cafe, went out, left, looked like she had gone back to her car, and then came back. She had tried them and decided they weren't good, and she returned the cookies to the Starbucks cafe. I found that to be a little bit much, but hey, it would have been okay if she hadn't been so short and rude with these, these poor girls, making minimum wage, probably fresh out of high school. They don't deserve that. So, anyway, I would continue to notice her and just think, geez, she's really, really kind of, going against my, my mission here. She's sort of, an obstacle in the way, so to speak, of my, my positive space that I'm trying to expand and create in each place that I find myself. So, yesterday, she was there, and one of the booksellers goes up to her, and she said, she's already sitting down at the cafe, and she says, well, I looked, and it doesn't look like we have it. Pretty small selection over there, so, and then the woman interrupts, and she says, that's right, you have I agree, you have a very small selection of books in this store. And the clerk goes, yeah, I'm sorry, so it'll probably have to be a special order, and she just cuts the lady off. She says, goodbye. And the clerk was just stunned. She, because this woman she had this appearance of, she's wearing brightly colored clothes. I think yesterday it was all like Hello Kitty themed and stuff. So you wouldn't really know it by just looking at her appearance, but really it's from the neck up. There's something about her expression that that she's filled with pain, hatred, anger. She has a bone to pick with the world. And even the way she flips her magazine, she's like, just, each page is just disappointing her, and she's, So, well, I've written it down on my phone, which is what I'm using to film, but I wrote down the thing that I heard her say. I found it simply shocking. Very sort of creative, too. It reminded me of something out of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. She says to herself, just enjoying another day at Barnes & Noble. And she says this out loud to nobody. And I'm just sitting near her, so I hear it. Just enjoying another day at Barnes & Noble, watching everyone walk around, waiting to be rounded up by the prison bus. Then she looks out the window and she goes, there it goes now, making a U-turn, coming back to pick them all up to take them to prison. And I'm just like, what? Excuse me? Like, are you okay? You know, I'm just thinking like, wow, like, so my theories were correct, you know? She clearly has something going on in there. I wish her nothing but the best. And I was trying to think of ways that I could wake someone up who's in this position, but I'm not equipped, just yet at least, maybe one day. Now, what has really happened to someone like that is they have just diverted so far off the path. It's like I said in a recent video about like an analogy of a sailor steering the ship in a stormy night, trying to keep it on this set path toward the destination. We are also doing this at all times. We're keeping our mind on the path and hopefully our behavior on the path. And, you know, tuned into that good nature that's inside of us that I keep talking about. And I'll make a video where I kind of expand on like what how to recognize that good nature inside yourself. But, I gave an example in that video where the sailor falls asleep and he wakes up and he has, completely done a 180, is going the opposite direction or in an unknown direction, far from the path. And if you don't make yourself aware of that, years and years can go by. And what for some people is like 10 years go by and they become this mature, beautiful person. Over the 10 years, they learn and they grow and they develop. For other people, unfortunately, those same 10 years can just be time to just further solidify those bad thought forms, justifications for bad actions. And, I can only imagine what happened to this lady. And she might have had some mental health issues, but nonetheless, she carried that energy with her. So what we're going to do now, thanks for bearing with me, not exactly a short story, sorry. Hope you're still there. Thanks for bearing with me. We're going to do just like a very brief sort of meditation, just something to kind of build up your energy and go out from here, hopefully, to do good in the world, and not just, waste our time or cause trouble, So we're going to start, if you haven't meditated before, first of all, you'll find immediately that the concentration it takes is quite substantial. What we use, so there's a few things that you could do. I have, my bracelet here that also says "Be Here Now" on it. Sometimes I'll kind of like flip through these beads and just sort of add like a physical element to what's happening in my mind. So I'll be telling myself like, be here now, be here now, be here now. You could, we at this channel are big on this book here. Maybe you've heard of it. You could say to yourself, Asha. Asha is. Asha live. Asha live in me. Asha. Asha is. Asha live. Asha live in me. You're using this mantra, you're using the beads, you're using oftentimes just the awareness of the breath as a focal point. Think of it as an anchor for your mind. Another little boat reference. An anchor for the mind something to hold it down so it doesn't keep just trailing off to, what's for dinner, what am I gonna, do this month for my finances, whatever. By building well, first of all, that anchor is very important, and what we'll do today is just do some really deep breaths. We won't even approach a mantra yet. We're just going to try to clear the mind. But what is so important about this practice? So you'll notice as we do this, we're going to focus on the breath, and your mind's going to go off somewhere. Eventually you will notice that you have stopped considering your inhales and exhales, and you'll be thinking about, why that coworker said that thing to you that way. Acknowledge that you've lost your focus and bring it back. Bring it back to the breath. You've probably heard this before if you've done any type of meditating, but what you're doing is you're doing a repetition. You're strengthening that muscle, that pulling your attention back to asha, to the focal point, to that good nature, whatever it is that you're focusing on. For years I was saying, love is all there is. Love is all there is. You could use that. It's a beautiful one. Eventually, the mind will go less far. You will notice quicker when you've lost your focus, and you'll spend more time in that place with whether it's just the breath or, again, some other concept that you can really spend time with and tune in. So we'll start with the breath, and then we'll go to it. We'll go to a quick mantra you can repeat. So what we're going to do, instead of just taking these shallow breaths, we're going to intentionally be taking very big breaths, because I'm kind of assuming that some of us listening haven't meditated. So rather than just watch your breath, your natural breathing, we're going to put some effort into making these big breaths, and with the idea that they'll be easier for you to focus on. So these will build as we go, but we're going to do some really long inhales, really long exhales, okay? And let the air out gently. Now already a little rhythm is starting. Keep breathing. So you're noticing the in, the out. It's hopefully a pretty pleasurable sensation. Maybe it's a little, could almost create a little stress of, taking in all that air and making, almost feeling like you're losing your breath or something. But as you continue that way, you might notice some things come up, but really just focus on the sensations involved, the length of time you're breathing the air in, the capacity your lungs have. Maybe you're noticing a little strain of breathing in through the nose, and then the ease of releasing through the mouth. Also notice, because we're just trying to increase that focus during this phase. So do this for about 5 minutes. Keep doing that breathing, and then you'll notice a sensation on the upper lip of the air going out or going in. And basically you're just honing in that attention. You're strengthening that muscle of your concentration. So once you've done this for about 5 minutes, you'll notice a difference, and I already do in just those few breaths. Like you're quieting things down, and I feel more energy too. A lot of the time our energy is while of course it has to do with things like our caloric intake and the amount of sleep we've had, maybe if we're consuming caffeine, But also it's just the activity of the mind just bringing, it can really exhaust you, especially if you are, under a lot of stress. Your mind is constantly feeling the weight that's on your shoulders. So yeah, take some time to just let go of that. Slow down the mind. That's why I keep saying slow down and self-reflect. Now, hopefully this comes naturally to some of you. Others, it might be more difficult. But there is a place of awareness that we achieve where the thoughts are coming and they're going, and you're noticing them, but you're not attached to them. It's almost like you're just listening to them rather than the one thinking them yourself. And you'll realize that a lot of the thoughts that are pulling you are, it's just unnecessary. It's a response from some type of internal or physical discomfort that's happening, emotional discomfort, some type of lacking that you're feeling, that your mind is trying to compensate for. Sometimes that lacking is sort of like an emptiness or a boredom, because it's our nature to just keep that machine just firing on all cylinders at all times. You'll start to learn that part of why our minds are doing that is because it's inherently attached to our human predicament, so to speak, our physical form being somewhat vulnerable. Less so in this day and age. We're not constantly looking over our shoulders for predators, but there are still dangers at hand. And, if you're driving, you have to be aware. Or, it's like our reflexes. You drop something and then your subconscious reaches down and catches it before you even can think about it. That's that force, just always keeping the mind moving, staying awake, staying alert. Well, eventually you'll come to this understanding that those things that are pulling you away, regardless of what they're driven by, you don't have to listen to that. You can sort of just objectively watch the thoughts arise and fall away. And eventually, you could almost develop this idea where, wow, I could just sit here forever and just let these thoughts come and go. Well, eventually life will demand some type of action from you. And we will be forced to get up from our cozy meditation spot, and enter the world and do something. Something will demand an action of us. So it could be sort of like a biological aspect where it's like the demand to go use the restroom. And you could accept the consequences of not doing that, I guess. But eventually you're gonna, something will cause you to act and to make a choice. And you will be forced to ask yourself what to do. And this question of what to do in any given circumstance, any given choice that you have, how do I choose? We're sort of scraping the surface of this ethical foundation that exists within us. Like, how do we choose one thing over another? Do we always just choose off of whatever will bring us the most pleasure? No. That will lead to us, being inconsiderate of others, and generally kind of just consumers is what we become at that point. And if you're someone who will just take, you will eventually, if you were capable, you would probably consume the entire world and still be hungry and thirsty for more. So you need to manage your instincts, your impulses, and get into touch with some type of, whether you want to call it ethics or just like understanding of good or evil or good or bad. it's my personal understanding that if we're able to tune ourselves into that frequency that exists within us, that is most available when we've peeled away and reduced, maybe only temporarily, our identification with the self, with the persona, with the identity that we hold in society. Once we've realized that a lot of that is sort of a illusion, so to speak, just based out of, learned concepts and conditioned habitual thought patterns and behavioral patterns, eventually you will be left wondering, well, who am I and where do I go from here? And I think I can sort of answer that for you. Like, what you are is this pure consciousness, a consciousness that is simply just awareness. But that awareness is taking place inside of this human body. And our human body will draw us to certain types of behaviors, but that consciousness, that pure consciousness, is oriented toward unconditional love, pure authenticity, and an overall understanding of good. And that good will come very naturally to you. And I've used this as an example before. Imagine you walk past a shallow pond and notice a child drowning. Is there any dilemma? Is there any feeling of, what do I do? No. I mean, unless you can't swim, maybe, and you're worried about your own. For the most part, though, any able-bodied person is going to jump right in the water, scoop out the precious child, and be eternally grateful that a tragedy didn't take place. That response is just built into us, and that is just one example. We know right from wrong. We only get confused about those things when we've forgotten what we are as this pure consciousness, this divine spark of just loving awareness. It's really, maybe it's abstract for some, but once you've peeled away every last layer of that outer shell, you are left with just that pure light. And things will come very naturally to you if you're acting from that place. And this idea, which I've sort of diverted from with this video, is, and maybe I'll take another crack at it, but tune in. Okay, just take a moment. Like I said, quiet things down, self-reflect, but just release that grip we have on that identity and that individuality and that persona that we're so devoted to proving to everyone. Try to find it within yourself to release that. I'll tell you, it is 100% safe, perfectly harmless. Let go of that, and you will be much closer to that peace that we're all looking for, that lasting happiness and love, natural love, effortless love for one another. So once again, I'm having that thought. Did I say anything at all just now? But thank you to anyone who's listening, and I love you, and come back again soon.